I'm Samuel. Today I will be introducing the practices that are intended to go along with the Introduction to Zozvrm series. In that series, the idea that there's one teacher of self, that is the attention was included, and that attention has three skills: concentration, clarity, and equanimity. In this video, I will be beginning to talk about the art of mindful attention. In the art of mindful attention, we observe that there is this beautiful ray of awareness that each of us possesses. And this awareness can be very broad, say like when it's zoomed out. It can be very expansive and have an ethereal feel to it and limitless. And then it can be very focused. So, when we say we are giving our attention to something, we are focusing our attention on a particular thing. So when we kind of look at the effect of our attention and the skills surrounding it, we can see that the skills we bring to our attention and our awareness have a huge impact on our mental and emotional and even physical well-being. And that these skills are really the key to personal and spiritual development. The formulation of these three skills comes from Shinzen Young's work and in a system called Unified Mindfulness. So the three skills are concentration, clarity, and equanimity. Concentration is the ability to put our attention where we want it, when we want it. For instance, if we are trying to read, something, and there's something distracting us, like TV or conversation or something, and we have that tug between the thing that's distracting us and what we're trying to read, that strength that we have to keep reading is concentration. Concentration also comes in the form of when I'm trying to talk to someone and I have something in my mind that's important or some thought that's just kind of grabbing me. The ability to stay focused on the conversation that I want to be having with someone, to stay present with them. That's the that is the strength or the ability to concentrate. Clarity is the ability to separate our experience into its components. Now, there are many different dimensions of this. The first one we will discuss and actually practice today is to distinguish between the different senses. So generally it's see and hear and then feel, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But it is generally being able to differentiate differences in our experiences. The third one is equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to fully experience our senses without kind of suppressing them by pushing them away, or by hanging onto them, by craving after them. So some examples of this, since this is kind of a new topic for lots of people, is like pain is something that we can sometimes push away. So we can have something that's going to be painful, but like we mentally, emotionally push it away, and that can increase the feeling of the pain. And then when we more accept it, it can flow. We still have the pain, but it can flow and have lessen the experience of pain. On the other hand, if we are grasping after pleasure, especially as an escape, we can really kind of distort that pleasurable experience. And so this is the root of a lot of addiction, where pleasure is being used as a mean of a escape or a coping mechanism. And it can go very badly, and we can be grasping after those things. So equanimity is to fully experience all of our sensory experience, especially the emotion, and so that things like pain, things that are uncomfortable, can occur without tension being really strongly held around the experience, or to have pleasure and be able to fully be saturated with satisfaction and really let it come to completion and the beautiful satisfaction of pleasure. So at a practical level, these skills help us build better relationships. For example, have you had an experience where you were, like we said, talking about talking to someone, or you're really trying to focus on something, and a thought comes up, and it doesn't even have to be, it can just be a random thought comes up and just kind of gets your attention, drags you away, and then we forget what we were doing in the first place. Now, I've had this experience, and I'm sure most of everyone has had this experience of being like, well, what was I doing? The core skills here would not mean that you don't have those that happen necessarily, or that you don't have the thoughts. What I'm saying is that the thought can come, and we can be able to keep our concentration on where it is, and maybe also acknowledge that thought, discern whether it's important or not, like, is my stove still on, or something I need to take care of, or is this something I just need to let go? And that ability to both keep our focus on what we're doing, and let the thought come and then go with equanimity without it grabbing onto us, that helps us be kind of where we want to be, and be able to discern our thoughts better. And so every time that happens, say we're doing something, especially if we're trying to be mindful and concentrate, and we have a thought that comes up and kind of takes us away a little bit, and we bring our thoughts back, that is wonderful. That's like doing a push-up or some sort of rep at the gym, but it's for our mind. We can reward ourselves with a smile because we just were able to put our attention back where we want it. And so that is a wonderful, and that's how these skills are built, is by continually refocusing and building clarity, concentration, and equanimity. Now, because this does require lots of repetition, and it requires some habit building, just like with all skills, that whole skill building talk information is a whole video in itself. And so I will link in the description and on the website some videos that specifically address how to do skill building, how to develop habits from sources that I've trusted and used. So that's I really encourage you to go look at those videos as part of this, so that you can incorporate these skills and the practices, which we will be discussing, into your life and routine, because it is, well, for me, it has been hugely beneficial, and for many others as well, over thousands of years. So it's a pretty good chance it'll help. So the first practice that I'll be introducing is called See, Hear, Feel. And this is the basic practice with the initial concepts. So in See, Hear, Feel, we break up our sensory experience into 6 parts. Now first, it's the out experience. So it's seeing out, so like with our eyes, and we can have our eyes open or closed, so we can see the back of our eyelids when it's closed, or just look out into the world there and be able to focus or have general non-focused experience. The second is hearing. So hear is just what we hear with our ears, just the sound that comes in. We really can't turn off our ears. We can only pay attention or not pay attention to sound, and we do this all the time, but we're going to do it more intentionally today. And feel is all the body sensations. So it's the muscles, it's the tension we feel or relaxation, also the skin, so the temperature, and stomach, internal organs. For simplicity's sake, the smell and taste categories are included in here, because in most cases and practices we're not using those so much, identifying them, but we can in specific practices. For simplicity, we're going to add those into feel. Now when we check in with all these are all our experience of the outer world, or in our bodies. So see, hear, feel. Now there's a correlation. There's a set of in feelings. So for instance, to see in is our imagination. So if we have a thought and it has something we remember or we're imagining, whatever is produced by imagination comes to us in a inner sight. So we call that see in. And we can look for, all right, now you just do it right now. Just bring up to imagination something you can see and see where that experience is happening. So sometimes it happens right in front of us. Sometimes it happens right behind the eyes. Well, this is a sensory category, and we can just observe that space. And if there's nothing there, we can check in with it and say, is there see in? And maybe there's no visual there. And we're just checking in with that space, that experience of space. Here in is the same. It's that inner voice. It's our self-talk, our inner radio, conversations in our head that we have. So that usually happens in a similar way, usually between the ears. So we can pay attention to that area and say, is okay, am I having any inner voice? And hear in, and it's active or restful. And lastly, the feeling space is emotion. So emotion is a little different. Emotion is a little bit unique to each one of us, and there are body sensations associated with it, so we can develop more clarity with our emotions and how they particularly feel. So there are some emotions, experiences that are, say, harder, some that are softer, some that have maybe a hard center or radiating from someplace. Like love often has that. It's like in the heart and it radiates out. There are some emotions that have a flowing. They don't necessarily, they can move, but they have a flowing feel to them. And then there's a combination of different emotions kind of overlapping and combining and moving. And so we can have any experience with that. So there's see, hear, feel, and there's in and out. See, hear, feel, in and out. So the primary thing to remember, the most important thing to remember out of this is there are no wrong experiences. Let me say that again. There are no wrong experiences. Even if I, say, give a description of something and it doesn't quite connect to you at that point, that's okay. Whatever you just connected to and the way you connected to it is just fine. When we add a little bit of concentration, a little bit of clarity, a little equanimity to our experience, every experience can be one we can learn from and grow from. And so that's the important thing to remember is there's no wrong experiences. There's no way to do this wrong. We just take our experience for what it is and continue to develop concentration, clarity, equanimity. Now, before we begin the practices, I want to say something a little bit about posture, well, body position. So in the art of mindful attention, there are different ways to do this. So I'm sitting, and that's the most common way to do this, sitting. And the thing that is most important here is to be comfortable and alert. We don't want to have too much discomfort. That's distracting and can really pull our attention, especially as we begin. And then we want to be alert. And now sometimes sleepiness, because we associate kind of calming down or concentration or relaxation with sleep a lot. If we haven't done mindfulness before or meditation, we can then have sleepiness, and that's okay. We'll just have a position that also has a little bit of alertness to it. Now, sitting is not the only thing we can do. We can also lay down. Now, some people like that because it does help them kind of center their body. They have less distraction that way, or they just really like the relaxation part of it, and that is okay. Sometimes being alert is a little bit challenging in laying down, but it has its own beautiful flavor. We can also do this standing up. There we'll talk about practices in other videos about standing up practices where like you can be in line or just anywhere standing up and doing some of these practices. So standing up is an option. And then the third one is in movement, especially walking. Now, walking mindfulness, it is best done where you have some place that you're familiar with, that you can do a repetitive motion. That's why walking is good, and that you don't necessarily have to worry about safety. You know the place pretty well, and it's pretty quiet, we'd say. So like if you're on a busy street, it's probably not as effective as going through a walk in the wood that you've done 100 times. So walking or repetitive motion is also an option. Each one of these has their own, say, flavor. They're all a little bit different, and we can get really attached to doing one kind. Like so many people just love sitting, but it's kind of good to mix it up sometimes to be able to feel how your mind and body work in different situations, and understand how the skills work in each of those body positions. Okay, so now once you've kind of thought about the body position you want to be in, and you've got it comfortable and alert, the first practice is called See, Hear, Feel. And in that practice, we focus our attention on something in one of those categories, 6 categories, and we say out loud in a spoken voice that is calm and clear, either see, hear, or feel, whichever correlates to the area we are putting our concentration in. So for example, if I am looking at you and you're looking at me, and then I want to focus on you, I would say out loud, see. Then maybe if I hear a car, I will say, I focus on that for a moment, I say hear. Then if I want to focus on my body, maybe I feel some rest or some tension, I can focus on that area and say feel. And just as the out category, we can do that within category. Let's say I'm having a thought and it has a visual. I'm thinking about something I did yesterday. I can focus my attention on just the visual part and say out loud, see. Or if I was having a conversation, I can then focus on just the sound, the talking part of it as a sensory experience, and say hear. And if I'm having an emotion of some sort, maybe I'm getting excited or a little bit anxious because I'm talking out loud and people might think I'm weird, I can focus on that emotion and say feel. And we can do this for a period of time, saying see, hear, feel. And we can do it in a rhythm, and we can do it in order or just random. The key components here are to try to focus the mind on a sensory experience and give it a spoken label. This helps with equanimity, helps us keep us concentrated, and it helps to bring us clarity because we are growing the distinction between our sensory input. So we will conclude this introduction to the art of mindful attention with a quick 2-minute practice of see, hear, feel, and with spoken labels, which we'll do together. And I hope that you practice with me. One of the important parts of this is not just, say, academic information, that these are exercises that we really only can experience the benefits of if we actually do the work, which is why habit building and putting this into a routine to do regularly is so important. Okay, so I will start and end this meditation, this mindfulness exercise and practice with a bell to make it clear when it starts and stops. Okay, so if you just get in your position that is comfortable and alert, maybe and start with a couple deep breaths just to bring you into the state of mind that you want. Let's begin. eyes open or closed or halfway in between. See. Hear. Feel. Feel. See. Hear. Hear. Feel. See. Hear. It's okay to relabel something to kind of soak into the experience. Feel. If your attention wanders, just bring it right back. Feel. See. Hear. Sometimes the label comes first, then the attention follows. That's okay. All right, thank you for practicing with me today. You can continue and do this whenever you like. I hope to see you again.